You're alive, sir.
Thank you, James. Welcome to this public meeting. It is a construction meeting for the town of Newington's complete street project, which is the Maple Hill Avenue and Robbins Avenue corridor. It is a local transportation capital improvement program. The DOT project number is L0093-0001. If you want to look it up on any sort of web searches, that's a good search.
Sorry. No, that was my fault. I clicked on it.
All right. So this is the 6th public meeting that we've had for this project. We started back in 2019 with various town council and public meetings and neighborhood meetings. It's been a while since we met, so we're ready to start construction, which is why I called this meeting, and this is a construction meeting for the project. James, you might have to advance it. It doesn't seem to be receiving it. It doesn't seem to be responsive. For those that aren't familiar with the project corridor, it is the area highlighted, or the roads highlighted in red. The vertical line is the Maple Hill portion of the project, and the horizontal line is the Robbins Avenue portion of the project. It starts at New Britain Avenue, goes north on Maple Hill Avenue, and then turns east on Robbins Avenue and crosses Willard and ends at Main Street. This is a town of Newington road project. Next, James. It's not responsive. At one point in the past, the very, very far distant past, like 5 or 6 decades ago, this was a state corridor, but the town has inherited this project, and we are responsible for the maintenance of this corridor. All right, project summary. Next, James. It's working?
Should be. Just used it.
You just used it? Do I have to point it at you?
I don't know. Go ahead.
All right.
Just let me know what.
All right, so this is a roadway maintenance and improvement project. This is like serious road work, drainage work, and so on. What this is not a fancy architectural project or a streetscape project like you see downtown. This is not about architectural street lights and crosswalks and brick pavers. You will not see that in this project. That's another project. Next, James. For those that aren't familiar with the Complete Street program, it's a concept, a design concept in the engineering community for multimodal transportation for all modes of transportation, including vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrians. The benefits are to increase the quality of life and increase the property values in our town. Next, James. Quick summary of the project. This is really the nuts and bolts of the project. This is we're milling and overlaying the entire project corridor. If we didn't use this grant to do this, the town we'd have to budget over $500,000 to do just the milling and overlaying alone. But this project is way more than just a simple mill and overlay. Like you see the DOT doing a mill and overlay on Willard Street. The town is doing mill and overlays throughout 30 streets in town, which you probably live on some of those streets, I would guess. But the improvements that are included in this project corridor, we're making some alignment improvements, several sidewalk and curb improvements, drainage improvements. We're replacing over 1,000 feet of corrugated metal pipe throughout the project corridor. We're improving all 4 traffic signals in the project corridor, including the 3 state traffic signals. When we're all said and done, the pavement will be striped and marked with travel lanes, 1 travel lane in each direction throughout the entire corridor. A 2-way left lane corridor will be in the Robbins Avenue section between Maple Hill and Willard. It's the current section where there's 4 lanes. That will be 2 lanes in the future, with I guess you'd call it the third left turn lane. Bike lanes will be added to the projects. Essentially, we're using existing pavement to add the bike lanes. The actual widening is very little and pretty insignificant throughout the whole project, but we're reusing existing pavement for the bike lanes. And one piece that was added later in the project design was we're reconstructing the pedestrian path between Vivian and Maple Hill Avenue. Next, James. So construction impacts, I'd really like to think that we're going to have, similar impacts to like what the DOT is doing on Willard Avenue currently, and what the town is doing in other neighborhoods throughout the town, such as the Thompson Street neighborhood. However, there will be some minor additional improvements or impacts, I should say, because the previous projects that I just mentioned, that's just a simple mill and overlay. There are no corridor improvements, there are no drainage improvements associated with those projects. And getting into the nuts and bolts of this project is we're making significant improvements throughout the corridor, and there will be some other additional minor impacts in the corridor. However, we're not anticipating any road closures or detours for this project. Next, James. This project does have widespread support throughout Town Hall, as well as support from the Regional Planning Authority, which is the Capital Region Council of Governments, and the Connecticut Department of Transportation, who is graciously funding this project. Next, James. Drawings. Can you flip over to the drawing set, James? I'm just going to run through the drawing set. I'll tell you what's in the drawing set, and I'll show you. You're probably not going to be able to read it and see a lot, but you'll get the general gist of what's in the drawings. I've got 2 hard copies here. If you want to look at the drawings and read the drawings and go into more detail of the drawings. So this is just the cover page showing the project corridor. Next, James. This is a quantity and estimate sheet. Next. There's close to 100 different categories that we've estimated throughout the project. Some of the various cross sections for the roadway project. There's 5 different roadway cross sections that we have for various widths. And of course, the 2-way left turn lane has its own special cross section. Next, James. Here we have 4 drawings that are going to show the existing conditions. Essentially, it's just going to show the existing roadway, existing houses, existing drainage, and so on. I think you can probably move through these pretty quickly, James. Keep going, James. I get it. You can scroll up there and stop there. On the bottom half of this drawing, you see a bunch of little splotches. Those are probes and test borings that we did in the Robbins green. So as a part of the whole project, we did test borings throughout the project, so we know what the subsurface conditions are. It's just a standard engineering tool that we use when we start a design project. Next, James. These are the boring logs. I got 2 sheets here, so you can flip through these, James. And we are finally getting to the actual improvements. I've got 4 sheets of improvements. And what you're going to see on these sheets are the drainage improvements, the sidewalk improvements, the curb improvements, any sort of widening. So you can go to the next one, James. Let me see if hang on, James, slow it down. Oh, my mouse is, but you don't see it on the other screens, do you, James? The pointer. Yeah, where your mouse is right there, that's a good spot, James. Right the corner like Vivian and Robbins, there's a little bit of widening going on there to accommodate the new pavement cross section. In the bottom, yep, there you go, James. You can see some hatching there. It's very, very narrow, maybe a couple feet at most. In the upper right-hand corner there, right there, James, where you are, is the mailbox pull off. So you won't have to get out of your vehicle to put mail in the mailbox there. I've coordinated that with the post office. And you can probably zoom out. I guess, hang on, you can stay there, James. So at all of the local road crossings, say just go to Vivian, it's on the left-hand side there, James. We'll be adding sidewalk ramps for ADA access in the project corridor. Some folks will get new aprons, driveway aprons as a part of the project, but the line down the middle, that's just our baseline stationing for engineering layout and construction layout. Lots of call outs for different types of improvements that are happening throughout the corridor, which you're gonna wanna look at the drawings if you really wanna get into that sort of detail. Yes.
I read in the newspaper online about reviving the pathway. Is it the Vivian path?
That's Vivian, yes.
Okay. So is that still state-owned property?
No, that's the town owns that corridor where the Vivian path is.
Okay, I was just interested. People have been cutting through there for years. It used to be paved on the side.
It still is paved. But it might be in that bad a condition, you might not be able to notice it. So it's overdue for some maintenance and attention.
I wondered if the pathway was going to cut across, which is where all the footwear goes.
Well, the path we're talking, that's at the end of Vivian where it meets Pheasant Run.
Yeah.
And then it crosses behind two houses and ends up on Maple Hill.
Right,
And
it's a pathway for kids going to school.
yes, that path is still there. It's in poor condition, and our plan is to reconstruct that entire path.
Okay, my question is, are you going to cut right across the property the way people do when they're taking a shortcut? Or
Well,
is it going to be where the blacktop was?
It's where the blacktop is or was. I mean, it's where the town owns that land. So we're just really reconstructing it close to its existing alignment.
You might put it where people walk.
I guess I think they do walk on the path, don't they?
No, they
To my knowledge.
crisscross because it's shorter. They're going to New Britain Avenue.
Oh, at the Maple Hill side, there's a diagonal that kind of pulls in. Well, hopefully they'll use the new path. It'll be in much better condition. All right, I think I can go on, James.
Like the lower section for anything?
We caught all the detail up above that I was going to talk about. So in the lower section here, we're looking at a little bit of widening on Robbins Avenue between Willard and the First Street was it Florence? Clifford, there you go. The next one's Florence. So there's a little bit of widening going on through there, maybe 4, maybe 5 feet to accommodate all the turning lanes at the traffic signal and the bike lanes. Here we're also cleaning out the Schoolhouse Brook, both north and south of Robbins Avenue. It's just full of all sorts of vegetation and debris and timber and stuff. I just want to clean out what we're able to access and get that part, get those hydraulics working better. Next, James.
The street widening, is that taking away any of the, are people's driveways going to be impacted, and have you notified them?
I've notified everybody in the corridor who were impacting, but this is like probably the only driveway this is probably the biggest impact here. And I have talked to that resident about other parts of the project. Don't recall if I talked to him specifically about the widening of the driveway there, but I certainly can. That's all I have to say about that. All right, James, keep going on. So this is showing the Robbins Green. It's at the intersection of Robbins and Main Street and the southwestern corner of that intersection. That entire green gets reconstructed, coordinated with parks that the trees there are really not desirable and or dead, dying, disease, damaged, all of the above. So the sidewalk is in very poor condition. The sidewalk gets reconstructed. We're adding a right turn lane at that intersection. So we are cutting a little bit into the green. We're moving the bus station from the closer to the intersection of Main. We're moving it back to back to Walsh. So the buses, when they leave the bus station, they don't have to turn left from the right lane. So we're making those sort of improvements, and this whole green gets reconstructed, regraded, again, with a new bus shelter, new path, new trees, new landscaping. And on the north side here, you're seeing new sidewalk from Main Street down to Walsh. That's what that is showing. I guess you can move on to the next one, James. This is the plan for the Vivian Street path. It's a detailed engineering plan. I really don't want to get into all the details, but it really follows the current alignment The grades change a little bit. We're improving the drainage. We're making improvements throughout that whole sidewalk or that whole path. Next, James. We got 4 drawings here showing the milling and overlaying. So essentially the gray shaded area is the part that gets milled and overlaid. This is one of the last tasks. All the other improvements get done first, and then we come back in and we mill and overlay the entire corridor. We take care of any driveway aprons. We take care of any side street access points and that sort of thing. You can move on to the next one, James. We go up into each side street to an existing match line that we've located in the field. And then that'll make milling and overlaying of those roads easier for us in the future. Many of these side roads are in the 5-year plan, the 5-year CIP plan for milling and overlaying in the next 5 years. And that's why we're doing that, to accommodate our future milling and overlaying of the side roads. Next, James. We don't have to mill through Willard Avenue because the state is currently doing that. That's what you're seeing, the white gap through there. You can go on to the next page, James. And then we continue east and we match into Main Street. And we're not milling and overlaying any of the state corridors. That's all maintained and operated by the state highway. All right, James, next. This is the striping and signing plan. It's showing where the bike route signs will go, where the crosswalk signs will go, and showing how the road will be striped for the bike lanes, left turn lanes, right turn lanes, and so on. This is the intersection of New Britain Avenue and Maple Hills, which you're looking at here in the upper left-hand corner. This drawing is going north. You can go on to the next one, James. Here on the left-hand side is Maple Hill and Robbins intersection. And as you go toward the right in the second pane on the bottom, you're seeing the 2-way left turn lane. Again, that corridor is going to go from 4 lanes. It's going to have a bike lane on each side, a through lane, and then a 2-way left turn lane for folks to access the local roads and to access their private driveways. We had looked very hard at like dedicated left turn lanes and left turn bays and auxiliary left turn lanes there, and just the layout of that road and the frequency of all the driveways, and how all the side roads they're skewed. They just don't line up properly. It just didn't work out the way we wanted it to work out. So we went back to the 2-way left turn lane system. There are no 2-way left turn lanes in Newington. However, many towns in this area do have the 2-way left turn lanes. Case in point is New Britain, John Downey Stewart Drive has a 2-way left turn lane. If you're not familiar with it and want to take a look at what it looks like and how it operates. But essentially how the 2-way left turn lane works is you're not turning left from a through lane. You pull off into the 2-way left turn lane to make your left turn. Essentially, when we have 2 lanes or 2 through lanes and you want to turn left, you really have the same situation because you're turning left from a through lane and there's only 1 lane to get through. And that's virtually the same thing that's going to happen here. And, well, they need to work together and negotiate. Somebody has to yield to somebody. We're hoping people will be able to do that. I mean, they appear they're able to do it in other communities. I don't see why they can't do it here. So, but that is the only drawback, that it could happen in some rare situations. Honestly, hopefully they're going slow enough, that they're turning, you're slowing down to make a left-hand turn. So all I can really say about that. Next, James. Nothing really significant here, but again, we're just reusing the existing pavement width to add the bike lanes on the outside and maintain the through lanes on the inside. Next, James. That's okay. And the bottom pane here is showing the new intersection at Robbins and Main Street where there will be a left turn lane, a through lane, and a right turn lane going in the eastbound direction, which will essentially mimic what's happening in the westbound lanes when you come from the state highway corridor. And this is showing the green being reconstructed with the path that has some curves, and it's kind of matching the landscape as best we could. Again, showing where the bike lanes start, where the bike lanes end, and crosswalks and so on. Next, James. These are highly detailed plans. I'm not gonna get into all the detail, but for each traffic signal that we're making improvements for, there's a traffic signal plan, and that's what this is showing. We're including technology improvements at each of these traffic signals. We're getting away from the loop detectors. We're going to video detection and the 360 cameras for stop bar detection. We already have some in town. The DOT is upgrading Berlin Turnpike and the Cedar Street with this sort of technology also. It's becoming really the standard practice for going forward. So that's what we're doing. We're upgrading the technology at these intersections. This technology should be able to detect bicycles too, is my expectation. With that, you can probably go ahead about 4 sheets, James, because these are all very similar, and I'm just not going to get into the details of if we're using a Cat 7 wire or a Cat 5 wire. So here we've got about 40 pages of various details. I'm not going to get into all of the details, but at the top is showing the bus station. The bottom is showing the project sign that we're putting out for the lot set project. And we've got all sorts of erosion control details, curb details, sidewalk details, catch basin, manhole details, you name it, it's in there. We got all the sign details and so on, traffic control details throughout the whole project. You can just flip through a couple of them, James, just to kind of, give people a flavor of what's in all these details. Some of them are standard details that the DOT uses, and they're great references. So we just add them to the drawings. Not we just add them. We incorporate them in the drawing set where we need them, and it's great for contractors because they're familiar with the Connecticut DOT specifications and those details. I think I've seen enough details, James. So
Very detailed.
if anybody wants to see more details, we have details. Like I said, we've got about 40 pages of details in the drawings here. You can flip back to the PowerPoint presentation, James. All right, funding for the project next. So the Connecticut Department of Transportation committed to funding the project back in 2019. Next. That was to the tune of about $2 million as we went through the various stages of design through programming and preliminary design, final design, and bidding. The cost estimate stepped up just a little bit each time. The current construction cost is $3.3 million for the entire project. And next, James. This is the project authorization letter from the Connecticut Department of Transportation authorizing the project. And we do have $3.3 million in the bank for the project. And we are ready to go, which is why we're talking tonight. Next, James, we're going to talk about project schedule. One more, there you go. All right, it's just a graphic showing the various milestones that we went through for the project. It started out in an application phase, went through the design phase. We advertised the project in the spring of this year, and we're starting construction, like I said, next week. It has a 210-day duration with a winter shutdown, so it's really going to amount to about 10 months of construction. On the left-hand side, you can see just the various stages of design that we went through, the various stages of public outreach and so on. We went through extensive coordination with the Connecticut Department of Transportation and the Capital Region Council of Governments to gain funding and approval for the project. This is a town project. However, with the amount of involvement that the DOT has, it's really a DOT project. I mean, we follow the DOT requirements and criteria, basically, step by step. Another way to think of it, it's a DOT project that's administered by the town. So next, James. This is a detailed construction schedule. I'm not going to get into the detail of the schedule, but the highlights of the schedule are in 2022, which is this year. We are going to be working in the Maple Hill Avenue corridor. The red shaded area is a winter shutdown. Obviously, that's weather dependent. And then 2023 is working in the Robbins Avenue corridor. If we get a light winter and so on, we can continue to work all the way through. However, that's unlikely in New England. So we are expecting some time for a winter shutdown. And I know everybody's eager to get started on the construction that I talked to. So next, James. We are moving into construction. Next one, James. Project startup. The contractor has applied for the encroachment permit from the Connecticut Department of Transportation, District 1. I saw the call before a dig tickets come through for utility clearance. We had a construction meeting last week, and submittals are starting to flow in for engineering review. Next, James. Like I said, the kickoff meeting was last week. Several town staff attended. Many departments were represented at that meeting. The contractor showed up naturally. The contractor is Colossal Construction from Berlin, Connecticut. I'm thrilled to have them on board, especially being how close they are. If we need to meet, we can always just drive down the road. The consultant that we hired for construction inspection is Tectonic Engineering out of Rocky Hill. And since we started on the project, they've been very good to work with also. So we're off to a good start, I feel. Submittals that have started to come in, like I mentioned, the project schedule, which we just talked about. The project sign, there's going to be a project sign like this that's shown in this image in the upper right-hand corner at each end of the corridor. So one on the Maple Hill side and one at the Robin side down in the green. Construction signs, these are the road construction ahead signs, and hopefully we're not going to see road closed signs, that sort of thing. But we have the traffic control plan, which is showing how we're going to route traffic around our work zones. You should expect some delays in this corridor if you're using this corridor. I'm going to recommend, if you have a choice of using this corridor or another corridor, consider using the other corridor, just to keep construction down in this corridor and reduce the chance of delays in your commute. The erosion control plan came in today too. That's looking good, and the contractor needs a small staging area in the project work zone, and part of the Thompson Green will be used for that. It'll be restored when we're done. Next, James. Some conceptual work that may get added to the project as we go through. We may add some sidewalk that we didn't note that it was in such bad condition or it had settled or so on. We can add some sidewalk to the project, possibly adding some drainage or some spare conduits for future electrical work or future projects that abut this corridor. And looking at possibly moving the bus stop that's located right in front of Fire Station 5, if we can move it north about 50 feet. That would open up that parking lot for the fire department. I know they would greatly appreciate that. And with that, I think I'm done, James. Any questions, comments? Yes.
Are you taking down any trees other than the ones in that park near Main Street?
The trees that we're taking down are shown on the plans. There are 2 areas of concentrated trees that do get removed. The one is the Robbins Green, like you had pointed out. The other area is along the Vivian path. Those white pines and cedars, they have just become too big, and we can't get our construction equipment through there. And we're totally reconstructing that corridor. So the trees in that corridor do come down. I have coordinated that very closely with the residents that abut those properties. There's one tree down near the intersection of Walsh and Robbins that does come down. One pine tree that's in the area of the new sidewalk that I pointed out. And then in front of Emmanuel Christian School, there's one tree where the roots are physically actually growing up between the cracks in the sidewalk and are creating a tripping hazard. So that one tree has to come down too. So besides the two clumps of trees we had talked about, there's one tree on one end and one tree on the other end. Yes, Rose.
Money question. The initial grant, how much was it that you were given? We were given?
We've been authorized and we have money in the bank for $3.3 million.
All from the State Department of Transportation?
Yes.
Or just from our capital?
No, none of this.
All from the state.
None of this is from our capital improvement fund.
And how many lights did you say were going to be changed?
How many traffic signals?
Traffic signals, yeah.
4. We're making the technology improvements at 4 of the traffic signals.
And they are located at?
New Britain and Maple Hill.
Okay,
Maple Hill and Robbins. That's the town signal.
right.
That's the only town signal in the corridor. Then we have Robbins and Willard, which is a state signal.
Okay.
And we got Robbins and Main Street, which is a state signal.
And are any of those right-hand turn on red? You know, I don't go up there that often.
I do not know off the top of my head.
Because I noticed on the turnpike, and I've noticed in other towns that they have some nice signs about vehicles turning right, yield to pedestrians. And I know Dave Nagel asked if something like that could be put up by the senior center and and in the center, because there's a lady that walks her dog who's blind, and nothing is, I haven't seen one in the town of Newington other than on the turnpike now. So if it's something that can be done.
Send me an email, will you please?
I've got your number, I mean, I've got your address, yes.
Yeah, I know you got both probably.
I don't know, you know, like I said, I don't know if any of them are right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
turn on red or not.
We could take, I mean, essentially some more details about the budget is that 3.3 million, that is the 80% of that is for the construction contractor. There's a pot of 10% for incidentals and another pot of 10% for contingencies.
Was that the initial grant, or did they keep upping it as you went along?
They kept upping it as we went along, as
Usual.
it's pretty common as far as I can tell.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, as the scope increased, we were able to increase the grant amount. And then, you know, everybody got hit by inflation over the past year, so that was, to me, is a no-brainer, but we had to go through the process anyhow, which we did.
I like
You know.
that you're fixing that Vivian Street pathway. I didn't even know it was there, but I know there's a lot of those in town. I advocated for the one at the end of our street. I don't know how this came into the project, but I'm glad to see it. I'm just out of curiosity, and this is off the subject, but how many other pathways do we have like that? Maybe should be looked at in our capital improvements plan. Maybe it's.
Well-
Isn't there one on Maple, that goes near the Episcopal Church?
See, I'm not from that end of town. I know there's one near Martin Kellogg, there's one over by St. Mary's School, but there's up in the air whose it is and whose responsibility is. Do you have anything in your office?
There's probably half a dozen rows, and I mean, I can tell you, I memean, we are actively going through like the town parks. I know we did Beacon Park last summer, where we resurfaced all the paths in that park. This fall, we're planning to resurface one of the paths up at Eagle Park. We don't have enough money to do both of them, so next summer we plan to do the cross path. So we are going through each of these areas of town and improving these paths.
Well,
This one,
it's the ones that are at the parks are getting improved over the years, and I've gone through 3 superintendents of the Parks and Recreation Department. It doesn't fall under a park, so we're not gonna do it.
well,
There was grants, and we're not gonna do it because it's not a park, it's a pathway.
well, this one actually,
Pathway where
this
I am, that's a good-
Vivian path actually came from some coordination between the engineering department and the parks department. And I know Bill wanted to do both of them at the same time, and he didn't have enough money to do both of them, so we said, well, the parks department paid for the Beacon Street paths, and then we were able to add the Vivian Street path to the project grant. Obviously, we couldn't do it quite as quickly as we were able to do it if we funded it ourselves, because we did have to go through the process to increase the scope of the project and increase the funding for the project.
I'm glad to see it's being looked at. Thank you.
They are. Neil.
The cutting of the.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, that's right, you got a construction question.
Well, the park That's on Main and Robbins. That's looks like it's gonna be reduced a little bit, then you're gonna cut all the trees.
Yes.
Is it gonna be, I don't even know the word, re-beautified, I mean,
Yes. I mean, I can't put back a tree that's, 50 feet tall. But no, I have coordinated with the Parks Department. They have identified the species of trees that they want installed. We're starting out with 4 trees. I guess, later on in the project, or later on down the road, if they choose to add some more trees, they certainly can. But the species of trees they've been selected as like low maintenance trees is what the Parks Department is looking for.
it looked like a pretty big chunk of it's gonna be taken away for the widening. But since you're trying to also do a complete street project and you're adding a bike lane,
Correct.
that is a nice resting spot, shall we say, or start off spot or end off spot for bikers. So if that can be just kind of taken into account when you're trying to repair whatever is taken away during this project.
I mean, we can certainly go over the drawings, but I in my heart, I feel we're reconstructing the park. We're trying to accommodate, the widening of the road, and the sidewalks are in terrible condition. Again, these are old sidewalks. They've been concrete sidewalks. They've been overlaid with bituminous, and they're just shot. They're beyond, and it's just. I think it'll look nice when we're done. I mean, will people be surprised and shocked to see the trees cut down? Absolutely. But I mean, it's a part of the construction and changing the grades and improving the landscaping in that area. Yeah.
Okay, so three things if I can keep them all straight. One, I mean, it's great to see this come to completion, to be able to get state funds actually being actualized now to improve this road. It's been terrible condition for so many years. It's great to see this finally being updated and, not on our local tax dollars. So I appreciate that. Two, I do second the comment about the little cut throughs. I know it's not really, it's a small part of this project, but something that I always think makes this community special is we have these, half a dozen to a dozen cut throughs all over town. It's a really great way our kids are able to move about the community freely, a little bit more safely, and it kind of adds to the quality of life. So I wouldn't want to underscore the importance of looking at those and other projects. And then 3, this project always bothers me at the terminal limits, just because, it's a great complete streets project within a quarter, but then it ends. And
Right.
I had participated in the road safety audit group when that was done in the town center a few years ago. And one of my takeaways from that process was we need to start developing a complete network in which we'll actually plan out a way in which people are going to be able to move about the community outside of an automobile. And I know this is a great place to start, but at the same time, we have other communities that have embraced complete streets, earlier than us, and they're building the infrastructure to our borders. Where do we go from here? Do we, work from here and build out? Do we, has the idea of planning out a complete network started? If not, is now a good time to start doing that? I think that's something that we really have to start thinking about. So this isn't just a one and done, example that we're actually building something here, which will then eventually, continue to grow and increase the quality of life and ability to move about this community.
Correct. I think the answer is like almost all of the above to your comments, Neil. We do plan to, this is like the starting point. I have concepts for expanding our sidewalk network throughout town, for completing those sidewalk gaps, like a Maple Hill and other corridors. I have concepts for bike lanes throughout the town. The way I'm looking to formalize those and move forward is through the Safe Streets for All action plan process. Yes, the action plan, not the implementation. I am planning to submit an action plan next month.
Separate from CROG?
Yes, separate from CROG. And so our concept is we can open that process up to the public and get public input for, improving our sidewalk network, improving our bicycle network throughout town. I do have further plans for doing some roadway corridor improvement work in Garfield Street, just outside of Town Hall, and adding bike lanes to Audubon and Walsh. So it's just really expanding that sidewalk network, or not the sidewalk network, the bicycle network. And from there, I mean, there's more to do. Yes, absolutely. And I've got plans to get those projects, moving forward. Rose?
You brought up the subject of Garfield Street. I've been waiting for 4 years to see what's gonna happen here.
Me too.
Well, you can only do so much, but
I know.
it was put off because the town hall
Yes.
was being built. Now, the town hall's here for 2 years,
Yes.
and is there a reason that you care to share, or would you rather just say, I've been too busy with other things, or whatever?
I juggle 50 different projects at any one time, and I'm not exaggerating. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm agreeing that there's
Yeah.
gotta be some sort of a plan. I'm glad to hear
Yeah.
that
No,
you're doing
I
that.
mean-
Last time I asked, or it was Wendy Rubin, I asked her about a sign that was up in the bike path near St. Mary's, the pathway that everybody's fighting over as to who belongs to it, I understand.
Mhm.
I asked it to be cleaned up, and this had to be 10 or 15 years ago. The solution was they pulled the bike path sign out, so it wasn't a bike path anymore.
So-
I mean, that doesn't accomplish anything.
I mean, I've got these concepts in my head. I've actually put them down on drawings in the GIS system. I've spoken to town council and TP&Z about some of these plans that I have for the roads and bike lanes and sidewalks and so on. It's really the plan for maintaining and improving our infrastructure in the long term.
Maybe that's a question that should go on the survey that's going out supposedly, and not distant future, by the end of the year, to the citizens as to what they'd like to see in town. What are your thoughts on whatever, Not
Absolutely.
just say, what are your thoughts? Say, what do you think about bike lanes? What do you think about
Mhm.
pathways being fixed?
Mhm.
It's just people talk on
Yeah.
Facebook, and they talk, how many people are here compared to the people that are talking on Facebook about the project?
Mhm.
And yet they don't come out.
No, I did a public, I didn't really do a formal press release, but Erica at the Newington Town Crier, she put a really nice article together for me. I sent out 250 flyers to the people in the neighborhood. We posted it on the town webpage. I posted it on the town engineering page. I know you don't go there, but that's okay. Yeah, I mean, no, I know, Rose. I'm just saying we tried to get the word out.
Watch once you start, you're gonna start.
We do have 7 online as
Well,
well.
I'm out next week, so that's okay. Call somebody else. No, call me. Yes, in the back.
Hi. Okay, this is a personal question, but you're the person I'm gonna ask. I live on Harris Drive. We're being milled right now. So I'm moving September 9th. Is there somewhere that you have a list of streets that are being milled, when they're being milled, when they're being paved, so that not only I can plan ahead, but tonight coming here was an adventure, wasn't the normal way, because I don't want to keep hitting all the pots, there's whatever you call those things, yeah, manhole covers, thank you. And, my car's really gotten wrecked just coming out of my driveway a couple of times. So I'm hoping that you could give me a better idea about, can I call up and talk to you? Who do I call to find out when my street will be paved? Because this moving company is coming from Massachusetts. So they're coming to my street and they're gonna be moving me, and I just don't know what to tell them.
So that's a separate meeting, but I'll answer the question. Is that I'm the town engineer. I coordinate with the highway department who does the actual physical work and contracts the physical work. It's done by a contractor that we hire. We basically identify the roads. We try to keep roads close together so we can reduce our mobilization between roads. Like doing both of the roads in your loop. Where was I going?
But it's
We don't.
that I can look at and say, okay, Harris Drive is on this day, and Britton Avenue is on this day, and Church Street is on this day.
We don't have it planned down to that detail, because like when you get a heavy rain like we got on whatever Tuesday, it just blows those schedules right out the door. We just don't. We have a day that we're going to start, and we do not know the day that we're going to be on each street, and we don't know the last day that we're going to end. Just because if the milling head breaks down or the tack tuck breaks down, then you lose time. We have a window. That's really about as best as I can tell you. But if you shoot me an email, we can reach out to the contractor and see if we can narrow that window down. I'm sorry, it's just not going to be day by day. We don't have that. we don't have that tight of a schedule.
Okay, but also too, is there, and even though it's not a tight schedule, is there any type of various information on our website? Because I hate our website to begin with, so I'll just be blunt with that. But is there anything on our website that we can find to read about what's happening right now and what's going to happen with this?
I'm pretty sure that the list of roads, we send out the list of roads to all the residents in those road corridors. We don't send the list out to all 10,000 households in the town. We just send them out to the folks in those corridors.
I never got one. Neither did my neighbor.
Yeah, you know, sometimes our mailing database is outdated for whatever reason. You know, I mean, for this particular meeting, we sent out 250 mailers. About, I don't know, maybe 15 of them came back. I went out and I personally hand delivered each one that came back. So I know somebody lives there. I don't know, for whatever reason, you know, it got returned to us, and I went out and personally hand delivered them. The one house that burned down at the end of Maple, at the end of Robbins, I mean, that's gone, but nonetheless, I mean, everyone, I mean, that's the kind of effort that I went through to get the word out. You can email me. We can try to get it better. Highways, not to push it up, but highway is the one who actually has control of that. There you go. Thank you, James. Right there's the list right there.
Highway department has it listed right on their main page under the departments.
Okay.
In highway, it'll bring you right to the main page. It'll show you the list of road projects for this current cycle.
Okay, and it gives you dates?
Doesn't give the dates, just the cycle for 22-23 fiscal year.
Okay. I mean, I just don't want the truck, my moving truck going down a newly paved road after waiting all this time.
You said September 9th. I mean, we're in the middle of paving right now. Milling,
Yeah,
I believe milling is done. Yeah, they should have finished milling the cemetery today. If they didn't finish it today, then it's tomorrow. So milling should be done throughout town, and paving is well underway. I know they were starting in the eastern part of town, and then working their way to the central part and then the western part of town. I know you live kind of in the central western part of town. I can't tell you exactly, but I would think that your road would be paved in the next 2 weeks.
Okay, now the next 2 weeks, which runs right into my moving day.
I'm just.
Okay, but
Yeah.
then also, I noticed today, like where my class, that's New Britain right there, right? They got milled and then they got paved, like boom, just like that. Where we've been milled, but no paved.
Right, where Mike Fox lives, New Britain Avenue, that's a state road.
Oh, okay.
And I think there was, I don't think it was milled one day and paved the next day. I don't believe that to be the sequence. I was gonna say I'm sure it was at least a week. Yeah, and 2 weeks is and that's kind of the way we do it too, you know. We get the milling operation going and then the paving operation follows. You know, I've had people call me, they milled my road yesterday, there's nobody here today to pave it. All right, that's not how it works. So.
I do
yes.
think the contractor that you've got has been very efficient and very good about cleaning up.
Thank you. Oh, it's good to hear.
Really, I was impressed.
And I've seen, the results that I've seen so far seem to be really good. So, you know, we have a different contractor than what the state uses also. I mean, it just happens, it's a coincidence that, you know, that the state mailing of and resurfacing of Willard and that stretch of New Britain Avenue that you mentioned, it's just a coincidence that's happening during the time when the town is doing our mailing too.
When I'm cleaning my driveway, okay, I have this huge gap. And then I have two of those, what do you call them again?
I call them manholes.
Manholes.
I don't know.
I don't know, for the gas company, whatever, one's red, the other two are dark. And when I pull out, I have scraped the back of my car already. Now, I'm not gonna sue the town, it's a 2009 Honda, it looks like a 2009 Honda. But at the same time, I have neighbors who have really nice cars. They don't seem to have that same amount of gap like I have right now, but I'm thinking, is the town, and could you actually have to pay for people's cars to be fixed?
You should talk to James. If you have a file insurance claim with James. I mean, shoot me an email and I can have, one of the highway supervisors, go out and take a look and see if they can, they typically do put some ramps. They put some millings around the manholes and around, maybe they missed one for whatever reason, or maybe they thought it was too small or something. I don't know. I'll admit, I've been on most of the roads that they milled, but I haven't been on your particular road to take note.
I absolutely love it. Watching those trucks and how they work with each other.
Yeah.
And one's tunneling around, the other one's moving up, they're dumping it, and it's like a ballet, I swear. It's just amazing to see all the trucks working together.
It's a beautiful thing in engineering.
Serious.
I love it. I know I had 2 summer interns helping me from CCSU this summer, and it's like it was awesome. They just, we all couldn't get enough of it, so yes.
Question about 2 crosswalks on Robbins. One's at Indian Hill, like the western entrance to Indian Hill near Theodore and Frederick. I think that's the crosswalk that, like, when you're coming across from Indian Hill, there's a big step up on curb. Do you know if that's going to be?
We're going anywhere there's a crosswalk. We're putting in the ramps, the ADA ramps. So I can't say particular about that one, but I mean that is the overall approach for the whole project. Is anywhere there's crosswalks, for side streets on local roads, we're putting in those ramps. James might be able to find it right there. There you go. So I'll tell you, we really don't like to put crosswalks that go to nowhere. We don't like to direct people to.
This one is,
Broadview. Yeah, Broadview.
It's further west.
It's the one further west. Yeah, I know Indian Hill does have 2 intersections. Is it up one sheet? Yeah, there you go, James. Scroll right. There you go. Keep going. It's gonna be the bottom pane though, I think. You're on the top pane, I think.
Don't confuse the storm.
That's Frederick, Indian Hill.
Yeah.
Still concrete ramping there.
Yes.
That's gonna be a shorter distance than it is now, or
Should be perpendicular. I think it's somewhat partially skewed now.
Got both the ramps directly across.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my other question was the one on golf that's gonna be by the mail pullout. Was there, I feel like maybe during the neighborhood meeting, there was some talk about like some pedestrian signage that was like flashing or.
I can't tell you the exact details of it's in the drawings. Whatever's in the drawings is what we're building. But we are making improvements at that location also, like you had noted. There you go, James. This is the actual sidewalk improvements and civil infrastructure improvements. The pavement marking plan, James, might be another plan we could look at, but there you can see the improvements to the sidewalks through there and the mailbox relocation.
Do you recall, were there any rapid flashing beacons added in the project on this?
I don't believe there are any.
What did you say?
The pavement market plan. Scroll down. It's probably about page 15 or 20, James, I'm guessing.
Too close to the intersection.
Yeah, keep going down, James. Keep going. Next. You have to go 4 sheets past those. Yeah. Well, this is the milling and paving plan. So you got to go 4 sheets beyond this. There you go. Yep, you got it. Yeah, zoom in on that area where you're just looking. There you go.
What are we looking for?
It looks like it's time to-
Is that good? All right, pretty good. Anybody else? Yes.
That left where the project ends on Main Street and Robbins, did you, that turn is really bad, taking a left right there.
Yeah, don't do it.
I don't know if you considered that or anything. in the
Uh,
future.
Yeah, that solution is bigger than the town. It's just a terrible, terrible skew at that intersection.
Slow way stop way too short, and then it's like, it blocks the right hand lane.
Yeah, it's like conventionally, when you're turning left, you pass each other, but here you have to pass on the other side and then go around each other. It's just,
Yeah, people don't know what to do. And like,
I know, I don't turn left there.
Yeah.
I don't, that's all I can say. Don't do it. Again, as we know the town, just go up to Lydale, go up to Goodale if you need to. Really. Yeah.
Could be a good place for a roundabout.
Well, if you want to talk about roundabouts, that's a whole nother meeting, but yeah, the DOT has floated concepts for not only one roundabout there, but a double roundabout, just because of the terrible skew and the offset of everything there. So that concept is out there. All I can say is it's a concept. I've heard no further discussion from anybody or anything about advancing that concept.
Probably make it worse than this now.
That is a good point, Neil. Yes.
Give them a goal.
Don't give. So, yes.
When you're done using the Thompson Street Green as a staging area, will you plant new trees?
Not planting new trees, but we'll restore the turf. I mean, we shouldn't be damaging the trees. The trees should survive that are there.
Yeah, we've lost 3 out of 5.
I can
There
put
used to be
in.
a lot right there, way back.
I can put a work request. Send me an email. I'll put a work request into parks to plant some more trees, or I can potentially add it to the scope of work.
I don't know what killed them, but,
Yeah, if you look at like the satellite photos from like 90, like even like the
they
late
put in,
80s
yeah,
and
they
the
put in
90s.
5 maples, and then I donated money, so they put another one in.
Shoot me an email, and that can be some like the work that we could potentially add on. I mean, we have a little pot of money that I have to really guard very carefully, because that 10% contingency, because the money that comes out of that is the asphalt escalation line item. And that's a huge wild card, especially given the way the price of oil has been going the past couple of years. So.
Thank you.
Actually, that brings up a point. So if the cost does escalate beyond 3.7 million, is the project cut back, or does the town?
Well, 3.3, so correct, but it's a good question. We have 2 pots of money for 10%. To use for those sort of extra things or overruns, I guess you could say. I personally don't know how it works, but there is a potential that the town may have to kick in if there's some, depending on what the nature of the overage is. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, there were articles in the paper about the cost of oil and everything going up again and again.
Right now, this project felt that big time, as the cost estimates really reflected that. Anybody else? James,
We have 5 online, but nobody has.
Nobody online? All
They
right.
want to raise their hand, they can hit *6 on their cell phone or in the Zoom application. I'll give them a minute.
Yeah, give them a few minutes. Anybody else? See if any other questions come to mind. Yes.
I know at one point there was talk about like because Vivian and Gulf were too close, no left turn onto Vivian, but is that just resolved by the middle left turn lane?
That's been resolved by the 2-way left turn lane. But yeah, again, it's another thing where roads, they weren't planned, they were just built, and just those intersections are just way too close. Same thing with, Broadview and Indian Hill at the other end.
Bring money to restore the trolley in Rowan.
That's another meeting too. Boy, I know we got a lot of great ideas, but that's another meeting. I'm not gonna hit that one. Oh.
Well, thank you for holding this meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
You're welcome. It's good to see everybody come out. I know many of you personally. It's awesome to see everybody come out and.
You have to stick your email use for what
It's gfurstenberg@newingtonct.gov. You'd be better off to look me up online.
Just wanted to know where to look.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, Rose has it. So, if nobody online has any questions, nobody in the audience has any questions, we can adjourn the meeting.
No, nobody online so far.
All right, no, thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, James, for hosting the meeting. You're welcome.
Very